My, how the tables have turned.
What
Yay.
happened?
All right. Well, welcome to the practical. What is this? Practical shooting after dark now.
That's the show.
Almost called it practical pistol show.
That'd be a pretty good name too.
It would be an okay name, I suppose. On deck tonight we have Matt Hopkins,
Hi.
Wants It Kim,
Hello.
and
Joel Park. As
yeah,
well.
I guess.
Holy shit!
All right. You gonna run this? You gonna run this train into the, or run this plane into the ground, or am I going?
No, I heard Hopkins is running the plane into the ground. Hopkins, you're on here because you have something you wanted to say, and you're being all cagey and shit about it. So why don't you just spit it out?
What do you mean cagey and shit?
He's not
You're
at
like,
all.
you're like, I want to talk about something, and I'm like, what? And you're like, on the show. I'm like, okay.
So this might not be a surprise for you guys. It probably isn't, but I am going to run for Area 3 Director for 2022. So the
Are
election
you
will
running
be
as a Republican or a Democrat?
independent.
Independent.
Yes.
Okay. Tell
I wanna
us
get
more.
all the bases covered in this.
You're seriously running for area director.
Yes, I am.
Yay.
Don't you think that's going to be like a little annoying?
No, I don't think so.
I hope it's not. I hope it's.
Well, Matt, you have my vote.
Looking forward to it. So I talked to Sherwin for quite a while. I've talked to him before, like kind of what's involved, what the area has, all the stuff that kind of goes with it.
Sherwin is Area 3 director, right? Just so if people
What?
don't know. Sherwin is the current Area 3 director.
Yeah, and he's Area 3 director through the end of 2021. The election will be in, I think, July 1st to August 1st, 2021. And we're supposed to know, like, on August 15th for the bylaws next year, like, who gets it. So I'm officially announcing I am running for Area 3 director.
Yay.
Great.
Excellent. Do we know if anyone else is running?
What's your platform? How is it going to improve participation is what I want to know. What are you running on?
I'm going to 2-up Layden, and I'm going to go for 20x the clubs and shooters.
That's a no-lose position right there, my man. Until somebody figures out how to 30x this bitch, and it's game over for you.
Yeah, true. I'll just concede at that point.
I would.
So I'll have all the articles in the front site and do all those deadlines, and I'm sure you guys will have questions on here and dive deeper into it. So
yeah, we're gonna tear you apart. We're gonna tear you into ale.
it's good.
Matt, do you know if anyone else is running yet, or is it too soon to tell?
I have heard of other people wanting to run, but I've heard no one else like officially say it or anything like this.
At this point, they're pretty much stepping to you personally if they run.
Well,
which means you're sending Jared to fuck him up. Which I don't think anybody wants.
Sasquatch is going to be the muscle of this.
That's your best option, I think.
Yeah, I definitely want to go with that.
He's the muscles of the operation. Probably the brains, too. It's hard to really say.
Sasquatch
That's
Collection Agency, yeah.
Yeah, so that's
so Matt, what has prompted this? What has prompted you to run for area director?
So Sherwin's been area director for a long time now. I'm not sure.
How long?
He's been at least 12 years.
Like as long as you've been around shooting, right?
Pretty much, yeah. I think Manny was area director for 1 year. And then it was Sherwin after that. So I think I will have a positive impact, and I think I want to get more involved in the sport. And I mean, basically, the Area 3 director, it comes down to you're a vote on the board of directors of USPSA. You're a member of the 8 plus the president.
This isn't really how Leighton explained it.
And then, like, the other main thing is you have to make sure and have the area match happen. You don't have to run it. You can delegate it out. So Like that's one of the first things I'm going to try to figure out within the next like year, like where the 2022 Area 3 will be at and how it will look and all that kind of stuff.
So it will not be in Grand Island, Nebraska.
That's not out of the possibility, but I do not see it being there, no.
I mean, probably plenty of people are ready for it to start moving around.
I would think so too. It's been like at Grand Island for the last like
10
9
years.
years, I think. Yeah.
I'd love to
Since
see that.
2010.
Matt's range, Mill Creek is super nice. I think.
So
Well,
I
they
was
had-
actually looking at that. There is a way to do it where we could get basically 6 stops with 7 stages and break the range down into 2 basically sections. And it would be possible. I actually am probably going to go talk to the Rifle Club board there and see kind of like what they think on it and basically do the homework and figure that out. And if other clubs like want to run it, like definitely open to having other clubs run it also. Like it spans from like Missouri, Kansas, all the way up to Minnesota.
There'd
So
be
it
clubs.
develops a very geographically diverse area.
Well, there'd be clubs in every one of those states probably that
Yeah,
could
I
feasibly
talked-
hold it.
I
would
talked to
think.
Sherwin. Iowa might be an issue, and North Dakota might be an issue. But I
North
think every
Dakota's
other state,
not part of our section, isn't it? Or I guess it's part of our area. I'm
Part
sorry.
of the area.
it's part of
Okay.
the. It might not be part of the section. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I can't think of a range offhand that could do it in North Dakota, but maybe there is. I don't
I
know.
think there's definitely possibilities in Minnesota around Minneapolis area.
But yeah,
Uh,
Forest Lake
obviously,
could do it.
Nebraska
I'm a
has-
shareholder at Forest Lake, Matt. I'd be
Are
happy
you?
to talk to the activities manager if you'd like. Yeah.
I'll be up there shooting the sectional, so I might actually talk to them when I'm there.
Yeah, I'm sure they'd be amenable. They do a lot of big matches there.
Would the hypothetically, Matt, would the flavor of Area 3 change at all? Do you think?
Yes, I do believe the flavor of the stages would change a little bit. Yes.
Oh,
So what
I'm
I've been
very
hearing
intrigued.
you want is more sort of like physical challenges,
Yeah.
like
So-
carrying stuff, like more
So
rolling.
I'm not
bowling
going to use
balls
any
and
of the
shooting that
pistol
stuff.
bays at Mill Creek. I'm going to use just the 200 and 300 yard ranges, and
Oh,
make
cool.
sure to use all of the ranges,
Yeah,
all of the stages.
I want to cross between CrossFit Games and USPSA. That's what I think Area 3 should
like
be.
New York Marathon and USPSA mixed.
Perfect.
What if you started
Sign
like,
me up.
start on a firing line and you have to run like 100 yards and then shoot some targets behind a barrel stack or something?
Obviously.
That would be an interesting shooting
And I'll
challenge. I
put a
think.
3x3 box down there as the fault line, so you have to stay in the box.
Oh my god. Oh,
Oh, sign me up! These sound like interesting stages. I can't wait.
I'm gonna have Joel as a primary stage designer for Area 3 from then on, and so look
Oh,
for
boy.
that.
Oh boy, you like my ideas already. Great.
Yes. Yep. I think we could put some mini poppers at like 300 yards. Also, that'd be good.
Yes.
Like one of them, just one.
Yeah.
that's
Not a lot.
when it's 300 yards, all it takes is one. The stage is it's not going in a good direction. Then.
And somebody would sit there and empty, like, take every mag on their belt, firing for effect to hit it. So
6 times 22. That'd be a lot of rounds. But just think, if you actually hit it and no one else did, you would win the stage.
oh,
Be amazing.
sounds- more
So,
interesting shooting
I'm
challenges.
sure you're not going to do any of this dumb shit, Matt. You'll put on good, proper stages, yeah?
Like it'll mimic. Area 3's had a flavor for a while. Next year is going to be the 10th anniversary of that type of stuff. I think it'll mimic like your local shoot more than what Area 3 is now.
Well,
There'll be shooting challenges. You'll be tested. Let's just say that.
Well, on a serious note, like not being dumb, it's cool because Matt does travel all over the country shooting matches, so he's seen a lot of different matches and what goes well and what doesn't go well. So that having that experience is quite excellent for somebody overseeing and setting up a match.
Shot quite a few IPSC matches also, so I think bringing some of that flavor into the sport and the stage design. I'm actually probably thinking of doing a 1-1-1 ratio for the match. So
that sounds
that'd be-
pretty cool.
Line me up.
I'd have to sign up for that, Matt.
you're invited then.
Well, thank you. Thank you for inviting me. very nice of you.
Good.
That's all I got.
Well, that's
That's all
exciting
you got.
news.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think it sounds good. All right. Who'd like to take the next one?
Popsicles to all the ROs also.
What's that? I'm sorry. Say that again.
I'll provide the electrolyte popsicles to all the ROs. Also.
Oh, perfect.
Like,
Yeah,
all you can eat, or what? Because I might want to RO that match.
So if you RO, I'll provide all you can eat.
Oh, I can eat a lot. Okay.
You're gonna pass out at some point.
Yeah, you'd have like brain
or-
freeze.
Matt, you've seen me when I get rolling putting away food. Like, it's disgusting how much I can eat.
It'd be a decent challenge, I think.
I was
All
gonna
right, fair
say
enough.
we're staying hydrated. Like I have a refrigerator already full of Diet Coke and Diet Mountain Dew for you that I have no doubt will not last the weekend. So.
All right. Who'd like to take the next topic?
I can take it.
Mr. Kidd is ready to send it.
Yes. So past weekend there was a match. It was pretty interesting, and I have some similar experience. So the match was called Lock and Load shooting match in Korea, and the match was screen shooting. So it's not real gun. So they would have bunch of screen shoots. So there's like a video projector. It will project all the targets and stuff, and they would position shooting positions, and there's a screen per position. So you would go to this shooting position, shoot with whatever laser gun, and then you go to the next position, and there's another screen, and you shoot those targets and go to another position, stuff like that. I've never seen a official match using a screen shoot. I personally shot screen shooting about twice. And both times it was just single screen, no movement at all. But when I saw the screen shooting, one thing, I mean, it's a good idea to the countries where they're doing maybe airsoft because the gun law is really bad over there, kind of thing. And actually, there's IPSC airsoft war shoot as well. And now Korea is using the screen to actually train. And I saw a couple of videos of top shooters, even in the US, training with the screen shoot. I don't know if they actually do it at home, but they were at least advertised to train with the screen shooting.
I would be very skeptical of those advertisements.
So,
I have the same
I'm
idea,
not gonna
yes.
say what else to say.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen. I'm sorry to go on a tangent, but we've seen some of our top shooters peddling fucking like brainwave headsets and shit. You know, so like there's no level some people won't stoop for a few bucks. So like just make sure you're not being taken.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Did they do this? So it was a real gun with.
I'm sorry, Joel. I'm sorry. That had to be said. I'm sorry. I know that was spicy.
You kept it very anonymous. I wonder what we could be talking about.
No, you're fine.
So about the gun they shoot, from the video, the slide reciprocates, but not to the point it's actual gun recoil. It reciprocates more like an airsoft. So none of them had actual recoil. The gun stays completely flat, but just slide moves back and forth. And the one I actually tried wasn't like the reciprocating slide. It's more of a plastic gun with a laser kind of coming out. So it only clicks on the trigger and not actual movement on the gun. My opinion, yes,
okay.
it was like
and that's what they were using.
Not at the match. The match footage I saw was actual reciprocating slide, but the one I used, it was actually like a year and 2 years ago. Those ones just like a clicky gun, no slide moving kind of thing. When I shot that, the biggest problem with that is the lighting, because to have the video projector with a good definition, you have to turn off all the lights. So when I was shooting it, I just couldn't see it had actually a fiber front, like a regular competition gun, but I could not see the fiber clearly. So in terms of aiming system, it definitely looks different because of the lighting system. And I tried both Steel Challenge and USPSA style shooting with the screen. With the steel challenge, I can kind of see it may help developing muscle memory because it's the same stage all the time. But for USPSA, IPSC, I was like, why do you even try to do this? Unless you just want to have a video game or something. But the match footage I was looking at, they kind of had over the screen, they would have like a sun visor, and they would have very bright lightning where the shooting position is going to be. So I think the setup itself was much better than the experience I had. And the footage is on the internet, on Facebook. And I thought that was interesting news for countries that don't allow guns, basically no rights in the country.
So were they like shooting positions, like, or how did it work? Like, are they shooting boxes, or how did it like?
So basically, there's a screen and there's like a line right in front of the screen, and there was a position even with a low port. So they have like a barricade and a port, and you would shoot squat through it. Yeah.
Do you see this as a future of practical shooting?
I hope not.
Okay.
It's like racers
What about
trying.
What about in
Racing
9
and
months
video
when
game
everybody's
racing is
out of
different.
primers?
Still, I would recommend doing dry fire. Yeah.
All right.
It's kind of
It's like
interesting.
a video game racing versus real racing.
Yeah. Do they have any like
Well,
competitive?
our mutual friend Jordan has quite a good video game racing setup.
Yes.
That's quite good for simulation.
It's
But that
quite
was
good.
I think that was like a $3,000 racing setup he's got.
It was. But the
Something.
thing is, even if you have the most realistic racing game set up, you can't still pick a lady up with that car.
No,
it's not realistic.
that you cannot do that.
It doesn't give you any.
Talking about like drifting and stuff, like Fast and Furious.
What?
I thought he was talking about NASCAR to begin with, but
Well, I imagine it'd be any type of racing.
Yeah.
But yes. All right. What's next? Oh, Joel and I, are we sharing this topic, Joel? I think we should.
Yeah. Okay.
You have something
Sounds
else
good.
you want to go with?
No, go with it. It's perfect.
Well, a friend of Joel's really sent in a couple of questions that are interesting and kind of bear some discussion. And quite frankly, I don't like. I think it will take up enough time that we don't need to take any listener questions or anything, because these questions are pretty good. I think they're good stuff. All right, hit us with the first one, Joel.
At what distance does strong hand only or weak hand only go from being a challenge to being the product of an unimaginative stage designer?
All right.
That's his first question.
So, and like, I have to be careful it doesn't color my opinion, because I know where this came from, and I had a big issue at one of his matches one time with the. I didn't verbalize it, but it was set up pretty stupid. So I'm glad he asked this. All right. So, at what distance do we think strong hand or weak hand is fuckery, huh?
Mm-hmm.
so like, not just that, but freestyle could be like taken that way also, right? So like, if we're shooting at 300 yards, that's basically fucking stupid, right?
Yeah, and that's a different place to kind of go with the question along the same lines. Is yes, at one point does it change from being a shooting challenge to being stupid? So testing your skills at 25 yards or maybe 35 yards is interesting, but if it's at 100 yards, where does it get to the point where you're no longer being challenged? It's just dumb. I think that's kind of the.
I like
it. It is. So I would first thing I would do is expand the question, not just distance, but let's think difficulty of the target, risk level of the target in terms of hard cover and or no shoots on there, and then circumstance. So that would be like, are you leaning around something? Are you fucking carrying a thing? Are you doing stuff where you're inclined to be shooting while you're moving? That type of stuff. And then is it Virginia count or is it not? I think these are all very fair questions. And they would all factor in. So that would add that in there first. So, all right. What's a rule of thumb here to know that if this is stupid or not?
Well, the other thing
on everything. Like if 90% of the people can't like shoot it clean or something like that, with no time limit or something like that.
Yeah, I mean it'd be something like that. If you're seeing a lot of penalties on the stage, that's an indication that you probably went too far with it, or it gets to the point where top guys like essentially cannot make the shots, like not repeatably. And I've seen a lot of stuff set up like that in matches where somebody's like, hey, what about this shot at this distance? And I'm like, yeah, I can't make that shot. Like, I can't make it. Like, I can't make it. I don't actually know anyone who can. But I mean, that doesn't mean that, like, in a literal sense, I can't make the shot. But it means like I'm not gonna like shooting it in a match under match pressure. I couldn't do it 10 times in a row. That would be my definition of can't make the shot. Like essentially can't do it. It comes down to luck. So when the shots get like that, it gets stupid in a hurry.
And that was another kind of conversation that my friend and I had, was like, he has the awareness to know not everyone is going to be able to complete the challenge. But at what point do you get to where, I mean, one-handed shooting, let's say 5% of the people can't do one-handed shooting at any distance. I mean, whatever the number is. But I mean, at some level, you're going to get to, there's some challenges where maybe somebody just can't do it. And it's not like there's nothing wrong with the challenge.
Well, this is why I'm sorry, but this idea is why I mentioned risk level. Mm-hmm. And like, instead of just what distance, how far, like mm-hmm. instead look at the risk level. So the targets have scoring zones on them for that reason. So it's like, shooting 20 yards one-handed on targets with no hard cover and no shoots on them. I think that is fair game. Like, to put that in a match, like, I don't give a shit. Like, if you can't do it, like, whatever.
That's like, one of the good things about Area 3, right? So they trick you. There's no shoots or partials, but they're going to have very distant targets, and they're going to have close targets, and they're going to have far away steel. Like, they're going to trick you that way. Like,
it's
I guess
deceptive
trick you or not.
Yes.
It's tougher than
perception,
it looks.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's fine, personally. Mm-hmm. And even if there's some people in the match like, look, dude, they're wide open targets. There's not a time limit. Well, I mean, what do you want? Like, we can't really, it is a shooting sport. The results are going to be stratified in that way. Like, the worst shooters will do worse. That's the way it is. Mm-hmm. But like the risk level, I think, is a lot more interesting discussion. So if you put a tuxedo and make it a Virginia count stage, to where if you just push the gun a little bit sideways while you're pulling the trigger and you don't get a C, you get a miss. Like, that changes the nature of things dramatically in a way that I'm not really sure that match directors understand that turns it a little bit into a crapshoot on some level if you get the distances just right. So, you know what I mean?
There's a certain stage that is a very good example of this, I think, right?
The classifier
stage, yeah.
Yes.
for this day, is that what we're all thinking of?
The one we shot like this year at Free State.
For this day, for that day, whatever it is.
Yeah, like you start with shooting 6 rounds on a skunk and then do a reload on a partialed up target, strong hand only, at the same distance. Like, that is a very good example of this. Like,
all you're really doing is hammering people with penalties.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't make the stage more interesting.
And on that, I think it's fair to say, like, any of us for shooting that, the goal is just don't get a penalty. I don't care what the time is. Just don't get a penalty.
Yeah,
you're not leveraging your skill. Ben's not trying to, like, I'm really good at doing this, I'm going to push this a little bit. It's like, no, just hit the targets. Right? Is that fair?
When I'm shooting the stage trying to not get a penalty, you probably went too far with whatever you did. Like, where that's the only challenge. You know? Like, that's all I'm worried about. I'm just trying to hang him on the fucking brown. That's it. It's like, all right, back off, dude. And I think you have to be a little bit sensitive to people in other divisions. So, I mean, like, designing stages look a lot different with an open gun than they do with a production gun. And they look a lot different shooting carry optics than they do shooting single stack or whatever. And you can make stages that are interesting and fun for every division, but you have to kind of be paying attention to that stuff. I mean, a lot of guys who shoot, I mean, for example, if you're shooting major, it's a lot of times you just put hard cover and no shoots everywhere, just because the targets are so boring while you're shooting major that you kind of have to do something to force yourself to aim it, to give yourself an aim point, you know? Whereas shooting minor, like those same targets that you just slap 2 hits on anywhere shooting major, those become a total pain in the ass, and the match could be not fun in a really big hurry.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I mean, so you kind of have to like adjust for that and kind of balance things out and smooth it out and make sure it's interesting for everyone.
Yeah, and one thing to consider is like the classifier thing we talked about that was debuted in nationals, and especially when you go to nationals, the first stage, if you don't have jittery hands, you probably don't give a shit about your score. So basically, people who really train and who wants to do good at nationals, they will experience jittery hands on the first stage. Yeah, and if you are unlucky to start on that stage, and you see your dot or front sight shaking, there's no way you're gonna make a shot and hit where you were aiming at 20 yards with one-handed because of the shake. So that's something to consider. That's kind of throwing off the balance of, unluckiness or luckiness. So if you are pretty warmed up, you shoot that partial target one-handed shooting stage on your second day, last stage, versus first stage, first day, that person's not going to have a good time.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so we've said what not to do. Don't do this. What do you think are some good guidelines? I mean, what percentage of the field would you be okay with them getting a penalty on it? I think that's kind of an interesting question.
I'm okay with, what, if you 10, 20% get a penalty or whatever, like what? I mean, fine. And it's not even, and it's
sorry.
No, 50% getting penalties, like something's up with the stage.
Too much, wouldn't you agree?
That's way too much. Something's up. I mean, you don't need to set up stages that hammer people with penalties. Like a penalty is like you get punished for you're being punished for some reason. I don't know. It's difficult to have a hard and fast rule. It depends on what you want to test, And like I said, circumstance matters a lot. So if I set up the stage where it's like you're going to carry this thing with your hand like this distance, okay? So now it's kind of tempting to shoot while I move. If you put the targets 7 or 10 yards away and they're not all hard covered to shit, then it is interesting for me to shoot while I move. For example, like I will have fun shooting that stage if the targets aren't super far, but I'm inclined to shoot while I move because of the circumstances you've set up. So I will have fun shooting that. If I'm not as confident, I'll just stop, stand still, and shoot the stuff one-handed, for example. Like that would be fine, but that's not really a distance thing. That was just the situation that you created.
True.
So setting up stuff like that's my preference. I prefer to see it like in a more practical setting, like leaning around a thing and holding onto a rope to like shoot some stuff one-handed. I think is way more interesting than like I almost, just from the way this question's framed, it'll be stand in a spot, do the standard exercise stage of shooting this stuff one-handed. That's what he's inclined to set up, and I think you can do a lot more interesting stuff with it than that.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yes. So, I mean, you don't want a ton of people getting penalties. Set it up so that the targets are reasonable. It shouldn't even be an issue like how many people are getting penalties. Like that shouldn't be the problem. It should be we're setting the targets at interesting, different, distances and like different spread of targets, and it's not an issue about how many people are getting penalties, because we're not trying to make it right to the razor's edge of how hard we can fucking make it. It's how interesting we can make it.
Yeah. Is it fair to say the penalties would come from somebody trying to leverage their ability?
No,
and
penalties should be self-induced. Let me put it that way.
Yeah. From you, like, hey, I think I'm gonna try to really make a move. I'm gonna try this. And it's like, well, that was my own fault. I did something I should have. Not that the stage was set up just to like one of those gotcha stages. Is that fair?
That's not really a gotcha stage, because if you can hit the stuff on the stage, then a lot of match directors are like, it's too easy. It needs to be harder. And they put hard cover. Then they just put up more hard cover until people start getting penalties. Like any jackass can make a hard match. Like, I don't think that's an interesting question. I think it's more like, hey, build an interesting, balanced match. Now we're talking.
I hate when they just like make it harder to induce penalties. Like the top guys or the guys that are like even skill level wise, they're gonna push each other like enough or push themselves enough to induce like errors. Like it just happens.
Yeah.
True. Okay.
All right. Personally, I want to throw this number though. So from personal experience, I see anything past 15 yards that's partial target. When you shoot one-handed,
that's goofy.
You see the score. So one good example was IPSC Nationals had a 20-yard partial target, strong hand only stage. Literally half of the people zeroed the stage. It was only 3 targets though, but half people zeroed it. And they kind of gave me 15 yards past partial target, one-handed. It's too much.
Can I make fun of you for a second, Mr. Kim?
Yes, please.
I'd rather you didn't. Don't make fun of Kim.
No, it's in a fun, playful way. I'm not any crazy racist stuff that you'd be going with. Right? So
exactly, you know me
so
too
Kim
well.
and I were doing a class in Texas, and so we have split bays, like running different drills, and he sets up. He's like, all right, we're doing one-handed shooting on this bay. I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah, it was like whatever it was. Yeah, one-handed shooting.
Distance change up.
Yeah, and he sets it up so it's like it was a 15-yard head box maybe.
Oh, baby.
It's maybe tougher. It was. I looked at it, I was just like one-handed, like what? So I'm just watching. Kim's doing his deal and talking, and then he does the demonstrations. He's doing a little freestyle, and then he does the strong-handed shooting. He transitions out to this head box at 15 yards, and I'm just kind of looking at him like, oh my God. I'm like, this is really ballsy for a class demonstration. Like, I wouldn't even think to do this in practice, let alone be doing it in front of people who paid me. But I would never lie. Like, Kim's going to do what he's going to do. So he transitions to gun out there, and he's like aiming, and it took a while before that first shot broke. You watch him pull the trigger so careful, and then he demonstrated it again weak-handed, and that was like the most careful shooting I've ever seen from a human. And then he unloads his gun, walks up, he's like, yeah, I think we should take that nose sheet off. That's really hard.
Yeah, so
it's like
told people not to do that. We did freestyle.
It was the craziest shit I'd ever seen.
Yep.
Sorry.
I like it. You're good. Okay. Next question. For a level 2 plus match, with stages not being published, but they'd be approved by DNROI, does that affect your decision to attend the match? So stages are approved, but they're not published.
All right. We'll just take a quick poll. We'll go around the table. Matt, yes or no? Approved but not published. Does it affect your decision? Yes or no?
Yes.
Mr. Kim?
Doesn't affect.
No, from him. From Joel?
Depends on the location.
No. I fucking be straight. Your answer was what?
My answer is no.
Okay, and my answer is yes. So now we got us an interesting debate here.
Uh-huh.
So Hopkins and I are going to line up on the side of truth and justice.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys are going to line up on the side of idiocy, is what it sounds like.
Well, at least I have company. Misery loves company.
No, seriously, though. All right, so I guess Hopkins and I now need to make the case, without having discussed this at all previously.
Uh-huh. And then Kim and I will...
Hopkins and I need to make the case that this in some way matters.
Uh-huh.
2017 IPSC Nationals. Done.
There it is. That is much of a slam dunk as that is. So let's say you go to a section. Hold on. We go to Area 3. It's at Mill Creek in 2022. We go to Area 3. Hopkins says it's going to be great. Well, they published the stage diagrams. They're all approved by Troy or DNROI, which guess what? I don't give a fuck about that anymore. Like, that literally does not matter. That maybe makes the stages worse at this point. I don't know. I truly don't care. So that means nothing to me. So we're looking at the diagrams that Matt puts out. We look at these. These look a little bit sketch, Matt. And I message him like, hey, these like, what's up? The stages look a little sketch. And he's all like, okay, but they're going to be good. So why don't you come anyway? So we go to the match. And the stages are a little sketch, and we're not really happy. Now 2023 rolls around. Matt's like, hey, we're having the match back at Mill Creek. And I'm like, hey, dude, these stages going to be fucked up again, or what's the deal? And he's like, no, they're going to be great. I promise. I promise this time they're approved by DNROI, okay? They're going to be good. But he doesn't publish them. He doesn't publish them. Am I to take Matt's word for this, that they're going to be good?
Mm-hmm.
No, I would take that as a sign. That's like confirmation of what I already suspect.
100%. But so I'm more on yes, but I see no happening also. Like, if
you already picked a sign. We drew a line in the sand.
Fine.
The question is, might it affect you? Might it affect your decision?
No,
yeah, of course. That just throws up a red flag. Like, if a club, like, you know how it is, like, you see kind of sketchy stuff coming off from one club's Facebook page, and then like, oh, they're putting on a major match, then there's no stages published. That just helps build a picture of incompetence, quite honestly. Potentially. And then when you have people publish very professional looking, nice stage diagrams where they're clearly thought about it beforehand, or even they're doing the 3D models and doing all this and that, and they take photographs and they're publishing them before you go to the match, that builds a picture of competence and professionalism. And you look at that and you're like, yeah, these guys are switched on. I believe like at least they know what they think they're trying to do, and I can get on board with that. So would either of you two, who are clearly wrong, care to change your minds to the correct opinion?
Well, here's what I think.
Go ahead, Kim.
So when I decide to shoot certain match, I don't look at the current stage, the current year stage, and decide to go. I actually look at the years before. So like if it's a like Area 3 match, I look at at least like 2 years before the match. So the year before, 2 years before, and I judge and decide with that history of the match rather than the current one. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So if that match,
if
that match has a history of doing some like illegal stuff or something like too gimmicky, injury factor, those kind of stuff, unless I have to shoot, because like somebody is inviting me, my wife wants to go there and maybe shoot there. This is different case, but when I decide for my own matches, I look at the history of the match and then decide. So okay. I don't even have to look at the current one. I just look at the previous ones.
So Ben, when you see the stage diagrams and they look really professional and they're 3D whatever, do you start building a stage plan based off of those?
No. Not at all.
Why not?
Because that would be dumb, Joel. And we both know that. They don't hit the ground necessarily the same way, but I think you'll find the stage diagrams are a very good indicator of what is to come.
Oh, so what you just said before that, the part I heard was that the stage diagrams aren't actually necessarily.
You're not going to get anywhere with this line of argumentation, Joel, and you know it. Like, we all know that you don't go by the stage diagrams, but whether or not they exist and how professional they look definitely is going to matter, especially if the match is on the bubble.
I suppose, for matches on the bubble. For me, so I think about track record, like Kim said.
Well, he was losing that fight anyway, so it's probably a good mercy for him that he's ranting into the breeze now.
We do have to be honest, though.
Excuse me?
Oh, he's back.
You have to be honest?
Yeah, you're back.
No, yeah, I don't look at stage diagrams at all before I go, really.
Okay, hold on.
All the matches are sold out at this point before the stage diagrams are up.
Yeah,
so we're basing all of our choices off previous matches.
Yes. Well, no, this is strictly theoretical, really, what we're talking about here. But it definitely would be an interesting indicator, and I would look at it without hesitation, especially for club matches. If they're putting that out, like, if you see stuff you don't like and you just like punch out of the match early, like yeah, that's fine.
Okay, let me try this again. So, like Kim said, track record for a match and the person running the match means a lot to me, and not necessarily the club or the location. So, an example, like to name drop our geographic area that makes sense, is like Chad Stanton. I like Chad a lot. Any match Chad runs is good. He might be doing a match at Tulsa one year. He might be doing a match at Oklahoma City. I mean, who knows? He could be doing Area 4. It could be Oklahoma, their state match, whatever. Like, so the match, if I look and he's the guy running the match, I know it's going to be good. It doesn't mean what club it's at. Like, it might be at a club that's really good, but somebody else is running the show that's not good. So if you look at, hey, I've been to that club before, I know the staff is running it, and it's like names you recognize, then it's still a bit of blind faith, regardless of what documentation you have from the match. Like, you still just have
so
to
how does that in any way answer what we were just saying?
I got it.
So
I got to wait.
The diagrams don't matter.
Joel, nobody is sitting here saying you shouldn't consider all of that intelligent shit you just said. I'm just saying, on top of that, also consider the diagrams
I got
if they're available. What the fuck are you talking about?
Joel.
Yeah.
There's 2 matches you're going to.
Mm-hmm.
They're the same distance away.
Mm-hmm.
The clubs have the same exact props, the same number of bays. They provide coolers with ice and water in them both. They provide shade on the bays.
Mm-hmm.
They cost the same to go to. You like your boys are going to go with you no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
Do you go to the one that publishes stage diagrams or the one that doesn't?
I would say the person that I trust running the match more.
Wait, the same dude's running both matches. The same dude set up the same.
Wait, what if one match puts up stage diagrams that look like horse shit? And you can tell because you got Virginia count. Then they're like, hey, all 40 round stages, all like 2 Virginia count stages, and then 4 40 round stages because round count. That's what they put out there.
Okay. Yes, it matters on some level.
What? I couldn't hear you.
It's not a make or break. It's not a make or break. It does matter on some level, obviously.
If you're on the bubble, it's an indicator, dude.
It is.
Like,
but it also doesn't mean a ton. It means some, but not a ton.
If this guy's asking me if he should bother doing diagrams for level 2 or releasing diagrams for level 2 matches, I would say absolutely release them. And release them long before the match, and you put them out so people know that what you're doing is above board, and it really undercuts a lot of complaints that there might have been some inside knowledge about what was going to be at your club. That's another really good reason to put them out.
That is a good point, because then all of a sudden they're shooting at 30 yards.
And I didn't know there'd be a 50-yard standard.
Yeah,
what's up?
And then you have somebody that their gun, they know where their gun hits, or they've been doing a bunch of one-handed shooting practice because guess what? There's a surprise one-handed shooting stage. Yes, I agree. For an integrity reason, it makes sense to publish it also.
Well, it's not strictly speaking, it's not integrity. It is the appearance of integrity, you know?
True. Yes. He's got one more question that's brief. Cool or dumb and better left in IDPA? Stage gun. Basically, he's asking if stage guns are cool or dumb.
So you pick up on a stage and shoot for some part of that stage, potentially. I'm going to go with this. They are cool and better left than IDPA.
I don't think they're actually legal in USP.
I think they were at one point, but maybe that's gone away. It's probably gone away.
I've never been to a match they had them.
I have. It was an IDPA match, of course.
I've seen like 3-gun matches where they have like, okay, you pick up this Tommy gun and you shoot 5 rounds or something. That would be cool.
Actually,
it's not. It's just a dumb prop. It's just dumb. It's not really as cool as people make it sound. I was kind of talking shit when I said it's cool. It's not that cool.
If it was a machine gun, it might be cool.
All those matches, I think, have gone to where they.
Yeah, Joel, you want to do 5 rounds out of a Tommy gun? Is that really what you want to do? You play just the tip with a fucking machine gun. How's that for you?
No, I would have one of my friends bring their work rifles, and I would do mag dumps with that bad boy instead.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. You want to get in there balls deep. You don't want you to play just the tip.
Luckily, I'm in charge of when I can hit stop recording now.
I'm sorry. I'm talking a little crazy today. It's kind of
a little bit. Must be the phase of the moon or something.
It is. It's one of those phases.
Well,
it must be.
I think this is a good spot to end this because this has been a bang-up podcast.
It's maybe a little too bang-up for you, Joel. Listeners, if you have a question you'd like us to talk shit about, go to bensturger.com. Send us your question. We'd love to hear about it.
And vote for Hopkins. Stop the Hop.
Yes. Fucking vote against him. I'm voting for whoever runs against him.
All right, you're